Welcome to Daily Scripture Reading. I do not own the rights to this music. Ezekiel chapter 40, beginning at verse 5 and ending at verse 49. This is the Amplified Version. Measurements relating to the temple. And behold, there was a wall all around the outside area of the temple house of the Lord, and in the man's hand a measuring rod 6 cubits long, each cubit being longer than the standard one by a hand width. So he measured the thickness of the wall 1 rod, and the height 1 rod. Then he went to the gate which faced the east, and went up its 7 steps, and measured the threshold of the gate 1 rod in width, and the other threshold of the gate inside the thick wall was 1 rod in width. The guard room was 1 rod long and 1 rod wide, and the space between the guard rooms was 5 cubits, and the threshold of the gate by the portico of the gate facing inward was 1 rod. He also measured the porch of the gate facing inward toward the temple of the Lord 1 rod. Then he measured the porch of the gate 8 cubits, and its side pillars 2 cubits. The porch of the gate faced inward toward the temple of the Lord. There were 3 guard rooms on each side of the gate. Toward the east, the 3 were the same size, and the side pillars on each side measured the same. And he measured the width of the gateway 10 cubits, and the length of the gate 13 cubits. On each side, a barrier wall 1 cubit wide stood in front of the guard rooms on each side, and the guard rooms were 6 cubits square on each side. He measured the gate from the roof of one guard room to the roof of the other, a width of 25 cubits from one door to the opposite door. He made the measurement of the side pillars 60 cubits high. The gate extended all around to the side pillar of the courtyard, from the front of the entrance gate on the outside to the front of the inner portico of the gate. The distance was 50 cubits. There were shuttered windows looking toward the guard rooms and toward their side pillars within the gate all around, and likewise for the porches. And windows were all around inside, and palm tree decorations were on each side pillar. Then he brought me into the outer courtyard, and behold, there were chambers and a pavement made for the courtyard all around. 30 chambers faced the pavement. The pavement, that is, the lower pavement, was by the side of the gates, corresponding to the length of the gates. Then he measured the width from the front of the lower gate to the front of the exterior of the inner court, 100 cubits both on the east and on the north. And as for the gate of the outer courtyard, which faced the north, he measured both its length and its width. Its guard rooms, 3 on each side, and its side pillars, and its porches had the same measurement as the first gate. Its length was 50 cubits, and the width was 25 cubits. Its windows and its porches and its palm tree decorations had the same measurements as the gate that faced toward the east. It was reached by going up 7 steps, and its porch was in front of them. The inner courtyard had a gate opposite the gate on the north, as well as the gate on the east, and he measured 100 cubits from gate to gate. Then he led me toward the south, and behold, there was a gate toward the south, and he measured its side pillars and its porches, and they measured the same as the others. The gate and its porches had windows all around like those windows in the other gateways. The length was 50 cubits, and the width was 25 cubits. There were 7 steps going up to the gate, and its porches were in front of them, and it had palm tree decorations carved on its side pillars, 1 on each side. The inner courtyard had a gate toward the south, and he measured from gate to gate toward the south 100 cubits. Then the angel, brought me to the inner courtyard by the south gate, and he measured the south gate according to those same measurements. Its guard rooms also, its side pillars and its porches measured the same as the others, and the gate and its porches had windows all around. The length was 50 cubits, and the width was 25 cubits. There were porches all around, 25 cubits long and 5 cubits wide. Its porches faced the outer courtyard, and palm tree decorations were carved on its side pillars, and its stairway had 8 steps. He brought me into the inner courtyard toward the east, and he measured the gate. It measured the same as the others. Its guard rooms also, its side pillars and its porches measured the same as the others. The gate and its porches had windows all around. It was 50 cubits long and 25 cubits wide. Its porches faced the outer courtyard, and palm tree decorations were carved on either side of its side pillars, and its stairway had 8 steps. Then he brought me to the north gate, and he measured it. The measurements were the same as those of the other gates, with its guard rooms, its side pillars, its porches, and the gate had windows all around. The length was 50 cubits, and the width was 25 cubits. The side pillars faced the outer courtyard, and palm tree decorations were carved on them on either side, and its stairway had 8 steps. A chamber with its doorway was by the side pillars of the gates. There the burnt offering was to be washed. In the portico of the gate were 2 tables on each side, on which to slaughter the burnt offering, the sin offering, and the guilt offering. On the outer side, as one went up to the gateway toward the north, were 2 tables, and on the other side of the porch of the gate were 2 tables. 4 tables were on each side, next to the gate, a total of 8 tables on which they slaughter sacrifices. Moreover, there were 4 tables of hewn stone, ashlar, for the burnt offering, a cubit and a half long, a cubit and a half wide, and 1 cubit high, on which they lay the instruments with which they slaughter the burnt offering and the sacrifice. The double hooks, 1 hand width in length, were installed in the house all around. The meat of the offering was to be placed on the tables. From the outside to the inner gate were chambers for the singers in the inner courtyard, one of which was beside the north gate, with its front toward the south, and one beside the south gate, facing toward the north. He who was guiding me said to me, "This is the chamber which faces toward the south. It is for the priests, who have the responsibility and take care of the temple. But the chamber which faces toward the north is for the priests, who have the responsibility and take care of the altar. These are the sons of Zadok, who alone from the sons of Levi come near to the Lord to minister to him." He measured the courtyard 100 cubits long and 100 cubits wide, a perfect square, and the altar was in front of the temple. Then he brought me to the porch of the temple, and he measured each side pillar of the porch, 5 cubits on each side, and the width of the gate was 3 cubits on each side. The length of the porch was 20 cubits, and the width 11 cubits. And at the stairway by which it was ascended, there were 2 columns beside the side pillars, one on each side of the entrance. The end. God bless you, and thank you for joining me today.